What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Love and Rice Podcast with your host, Aunt Ma.
I'm your other host, Christina.
And I just want to put a disclaimer here. This entire episode, we just finished recording it, and I did not get any audio from these microphones. There was a big boo-boo somewhere, and after we finished the episode, we realized that the mics weren't recording. So we are going to, instead of doing this episode over, it was such a great episode. It was fantastic. All the information was great. So I want to keep it. And so the audio might sound a little different as it's coming from the camera, but that's what we got. So thank you for putting up with this episode. And here we go. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Love and Rice Podcast with your host, Aunt Ma.
I'm your other host, Christina.
And if you guys are new to this podcast, make sure to subscribe on all podcast platforms. We're talking about even on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Google, TikTok, and Instagram. So if you guys have not followed or subscribed, please go do that. Go rate us on Spotify if you can. We would appreciate that very much. On this episode, damn, it's hot right now.
It's super hot.
Vegas is hot right now, guys. And a lot of you guys always say, damn, I don't want to move to Vegas because it's so hot. But what are we? June just started. It's like this couple of days after summer.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's like in the 90s right now.
It's been cold ever since just this week.
It's been cold ever since this week?
It's been cold up until this week.
Okay.
Now it just got hot.
Yeah, like even at nighttime, you can open the window, you get that cool little breeze. And then, just like a few days ago, it just started getting hot. So when you're opening that window, like you feel that hot air just coming in.
It was the same when we were living in LA. The summer times were just so hot. And then after summer passes, it's just cold.
Yeah.
Vegas is way colder than LA.
True. But I think the way that we've adjusted is that we just stay in the house when it's too hot, or we go to places with AC.
So bear with me if you see some sweat drops. All right.
Yep. I had pants on before this, and I was like, I can't do this. So I'm going to go change and put on some shorts.
Yeah, I can't. I got to wear pants.
Yeah.
Alright guys, so on this episode, we're going to try and break some stereotypes here in the Asian culture. You know, everybody says that Asians are really, really great at school. They're very smart. They know math, and they're the best at it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think actually Indians are actually very good at math, more than Chinese and other Asians. But so I kind of want to break these stereotypes because I don't think I was the Asian that could do math. I don't think I was the Asian that was good at school. You know, if anything, I was opposite of all the stereotypes. What's that?
Yeah, I'm not going to say no.
Yeah, right. So we're going to get into all this right now, and we'll start it, I guess just how when we started taking school serious.
Yeah.
You know, and it always starts with like your junior, senior year of high school. And I really didn't take high school that serious. I was more into basketball and my sports and hanging out with friends.
Yeah, I think that's how it was for me too. Like academics were important as long as I was making sure that I was getting like A's and B's, right?
Yeah.
But then at the same time, what I was focused more on was like friendships I was going through, whatever drama was happening, getting into extracurricular activities like being clubs and sports and other things, right?
It's more about the lifestyle.
Yeah, it was more of the lifestyle.
But then when I was going to, I went to a very dominant Asian high school called Arcadia High, and everyone there was just so smart. And the lifestyle at that school was taking AP courses. What are, if you don't know what AP courses are, they're prerequisites that you can take in your high school, and they'll count towards credit to college.
Right, they're advanced classes other than your ordinary, like, typical classes.
And so you have to be really smart to get into those. And for some reason, I got into AP history.
Oh, wow.
I
Yeah.
think it was AP history.
I don't think I was ever in any AP classes at all, but then again, I never really tried to even.
That's why. I mean, because Arcadia High School is such a lifestyle of like being the smartest ones at school. Like, damn, you're dumb. You're doing like intro to math. You're doing algebra right now, geometry as a junior. Like, you should be doing statistics, trigonometry, and all this stuff. And like, so when I got AP history, I was like, wow, maybe I am smart. And I did it for about like a week or two, and I was like, I can't do this anymore.
Oh, well, what is the difference? What did you notice between like a regular history class compared to an AP history class?
We're not watching movies every day.
Oh, so
Yeah.
you're actually learning at a more accelerated rate also?
I guess so. Yeah, it's more work. But you know,
Yeah, because in a lot of the history classes, right, you're watching documentaries of past events that have happened, and it's like,
yeah, like war movies.
yeah, you're watching that, and then you have the teacher jump in to like teach you about it more, right?
Right.
But then for AP, I'm assuming they're elaborating more, having direct communication with you rather than actually watching something.
I mean, it wasn't that bad. It's just that I wasn't good at school. So, like, for example, I took my SATs, and they tell you that you got to get at least an 800 score on your SATs. If you don't, you're stupid.
Oh.
Right? Like, 800 is the easiest score that you can get.
Yeah, but I feel like some people are just really bad at taking tests at the same time.
And that's me.
Oh, okay. I mean, I think that's a lot of people.
Can you guess what my score was?
Well, if you're saying that...
No, I'm smart.
It sounds like you couldn't get over 800 with the way that you're saying it.
No, I'm smart.
Okay, so I'll say 800.
Okay, so I don't remember, but I think it was like I think I got like a 680, which is horrible because they say that when you put your name on the form, you're already at a 400.
Oh, really?
It starts at a 400.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I don't know, but I got a 680, which is like the worst of the worst. I tried to study from these SAT books. I didn't do no classes or any of that stuff like everyone else.
I didn't take any classes either.
What did you get?
I don't remember. I know for sure I passed the 800 mark, but I don't remember.
Did you get 1,000?
I don't think so.
What? We're both stupid?
No. Speak for yourself. No, I didn't say I was stupid. No, I don't remember what I got. I don't know if it was 1,000. Like,
everyone in my school was getting like 1,200 minimum. And if you were getting 1,100, they would call us stupid. So when I got the 680, I was like, oh, damn, dude.
Yeah, I don't remember what I got. It was so long ago.
Yeah.
But I remember, like, I was feeling good about it, though, so...
Yeah, I felt good about it, too. But, those scores, I applied to all these colleges, and I didn't get into all of them except for one, because they said my SAT score was too low.
I see.
So I did like UC Riverside, UC Irvine, Cal State Long Beach, Cal State LA. I did like the easy ones that anyone can get into, and I didn't get into those.
For me, I didn't even bother applying to any UCs.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them were a lot further away, right? And then also because, I grew up with immigrant parents, and I was the first one to actually go to an actual 4-year college, whereas my older siblings, my older brothers, they just went to a community college, and they were like kind of on and off, they didn't know what they were going to do. It wasn't a steady thing for them. So I was just like, I want to go somewhere that's local, that's not going to cost as much, and that I can still be at home because I still have my little sister too. So I took all these things into consideration, didn't apply to a UC. I was like, you know what, if I want to get into a UC, I'll just start at a Cal State first and then transfer to a UC.
So what was the first one you went to?
I went to Cal Poly Pomona.
Me too.
Yeah, and all of the Cal States that I applied to, I got into every single one. So my SAT scores shouldn't be that bad, right?
So, Cal Poly Pomona was known for their engineering, and so it was a really difficult school. But for some reason, I got in. It was the only one that accepted me.
What major did you apply for? Because I think it depends because they need like a certain ratio of students to be able to get in per major.
At the time, I couldn't pick one that I really wanted, so I just declared something just to kind of get my things going. And it was business something.
Business admin? Business management?
No, business something. But I just knew I wanted to do something business, so it wasn't admin or management. It was just business. I forgot.
Well, it's usually business management or business administration with an emphasis in a particular subject.
I see.
Like for me, it was business administration, business management with an emphasis in human resources.
Oh,
yeah. So yours could have been like in marketing or. I
didn't get that far.
Oh, okay.
So college was this is where like the stereotypes is not true, guys. I could not do college. Like Cal Poly was the only one that accepted me, and they're like, you know what? You need to come here and you need to take some tests for English and for math to see if you can continue going to school here. You know, I took these tests to see where I would fall into their classes, and I bombed both to where I had to do intro to English and intro to math. And
Intro to English.
yeah, but I was good at English. I was getting A's in English in high school. I did get A's in English in college, you know, but my math I couldn't do. I was the worst at math. How have you guys ever met an Asian guy or a Chinese guy who couldn't do math? That's me. I'm the only person.
Yeah, well, I mean, math wasn't always the easiest topic for me too, especially when it came down to like trig and after that, right, or calculus.
We don't even use that shit.
Yeah, we don't, but I mean, unless that's part of your major, but at the same time, that was...
I'm fast with a calculator, though.
I mean, you should be, right?
I mean, knowing how to calculate numbers is also kind of difficult. You know what I mean? Like, people don't understand how to calculate business terms and things like that.
Yeah.
So, but how was college for you when you first started?
College for me...
Was it easy, like all the other Asians?
I would say it was, you know, there were, for the most part, the classes were easy, but there were some that were probably challenging. And I would say it probably came down to like maybe the math classes or something, or maybe like econ, right? Because you don't really focus on subjects like that too much or at least in my high school, right? So
I took econ my senior year.
We did too. But then when you're going into college, you're learning the next level of these topics, and
it's boring.
It is boring. So it's kind of like being able to have that discipline to actually listen and not be so like friend driven and just enjoying the college experience, because I feel like that's a really challenging thing for students when you're first going into college, because you're like, oh my gosh, I'm a freshman, I get to meet new people, I get to have all these friends, I get to socialize, like everything is completely different, right?
So you weren't even focused on academics.
Yeah, I was just so excited about the experience, and then like, oh, what extracurricular activities can I join? What kind of clubs are there? This and that, you know, like, are there any sports? I was just looking for all these exciting things to do where I wasn't as focused in my academics, but I still was doing okay. Like, I was still passing my classes. I wasn't failing or anything. But I will say that the biggest mistake I made in college was trying to work full-time and go to college at the same time.
Yeah, I worked throughout all the colleges that I went to.
Yeah, and the jobs that I was working, it was like working graveyard shift too, so it made it really difficult, because when is there time to sleep? Like, sometimes I would be going to work, and usually my shift would end at, it'll be from like 5:30 p.m. to midnight. And then if someone ends up calling in sick and they're like, hey, who wants to work for double overtime until 6 a.m.?
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'll do it, because that's a lot of money, right?
Why did you think you felt like you needed to work while you're going to school?
I think it was just more of a sense of being independent and knowing that I was able to do everything on my own. Like, I didn't have to worry too much about relying on my parents when it came to finances, and just knowing that, like, okay, well, if I need books, I can just work and make money, and I can get these books myself without having to ask my parents for money. Or if I had to like pay for whatever bills, like a phone bill, or even then I didn't really have a cell phone anyway. Like, my parents wouldn't let me have one. Yeah,
in
I had
college?
to borrow. Yeah, I had to borrow my dad's cell phone because they did not want me to have one. They wouldn't allow me to. Yeah, because they only gave it to me in case of an emergencies, like if my car broke down, or if I needed someone to pick me up, or if I got into an accident, then they would know where I'm at, and they wanted to be able to keep track of where I was.
That's crazy. Yeah. Not having a cell phone in college.
I wasn't allowed to.
Yeah, there's like middle schoolers with cell phones, or even elementary school kids now, huh?
Yeah, I didn't have my own cell phone until maybe I was like a few years down the line in college. Yeah. So with that, you know, going back to like just working, and then
how old is your nephew?
I don't know, 11, 12?
10, 11, 12.
10, 11, 12, yeah.
And He got a cell phone.
Yep. Yep. And he's trying to like do things, and he has chores and tasks that he has to fulfill to help earn money, like getting allowance to pay for his own cell phone. So my brother is not even paying for his cell phone. Like,
nice.
He's doing it himself.
I like that.
Yeah. So I don't know, like times were different back then, especially for being a girl. Like I didn't get a lot of things that other like my peers were getting, like their own cell phones, their own cars, like everything that I had was borrowed from them so that they had power and control over what I was doing.
I agree with you. I think the one thing that I would advise to any parents and any kids who are going to college right now is if you do not have to work while going to school, don't. It ruins your focus. It's hard. I know you need the money to go party, to go buy things, food, but if you can just ask your parents and say, hey, look, I don't think I can work right now, dude, just don't. And if you're a parent, don't make your kids work. Because for me, I was 18, I was going to college, I was living in an apartment, I shared a room with somebody, and I had to work to pay for rent.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I pay for food, pay for everything that I did myself, gas, everything. You know, insurance, registration, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So at 18, I was doing all that. And yeah, I was also, I was doing like full-time jobs trying to, you know, but it was like, well, it would be like, you know, a couple of days out of the week, but it's like full hours, right? Things like that.
Yeah, that's the difference with us because, like, I was still living with my parents because they wanted me to live with them, right? And I wanted to be home. I wasn't ready to leave the nest, but, like, I was still just doing that for my own independence and thinking, like, oh, I'm so badass. Like, I'm working and doing all this stuff. I'm so independent, right?
Yeah.
But, man, I, like, screwed myself over, and I didn't even have to, because I didn't even have to work to pay for rent or anything like that. Like, I was staying with my parents.
Why did it screw you over, though? Like, what happened?
Because I couldn't balance things out anymore because work became more of a priority than my academics. But even if I wanted to focus on my academics, I was so tired from working that I was just like, oh, man, like, I would just rather sleep than get my homework done, or I'd rather sleep than study. Or if I'm staying up to study, I'm kind of studying, but I'm not really absorbing everything I'm taking in because I'm so tired. So, yeah, I was probably working 5 days a week, you know, like school days, right?
Yeah.
And working those weird hours and stuff. So I think I just lost focus and I couldn't make school the priority anymore.
So what happened?
So after that, eventually, I had to drop out of college for a little while.
How long were you in college before you dropped out?
I don't remember. I would say it was probably, I think I was maybe like 2 years in.
Oh.
2 years in.
You should not stop when you're 2 years in.
I know, but
Two more years and you would have finished.
Yeah, but I put myself so behind that I started to not be able to like focus anymore, and my grades were starting to like drop.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had no choice. Like I was failing pretty much, and I just had to stop.
So what did you do when you stopped?
I just ended up working, so I couldn't go to Cal Poly anymore.
So that doesn't even make sense. Like you were working while you were going to college to pay for your own books and stuff for school, and then you stopped going to school to keep working for what?
So.
You know what I mean? Now you're not going to school, so what are you working for?
I think I was just working to pass the time because now I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to school. What do I do now? But I think I was trying to still balance it out. So I wasn't completely not going to school. It was the fact that I was like, okay, well, I can't keep up at Cal Poly. So now I'm going to try to figure out a way to balance my schedule with my work schedule. So then I started applying to go to community colleges.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so I would start taking classes that I needed to within those colleges. I think I went to Rio Hondo College for a little while. I also went to Mount Sac for a few classes. And I was going between both classes trying to just like get some classes done part-time while I was still working. So while I was doing that, you know, I was kind of trying to balance things out, right? Because with Cal Poly, you have to meet certain requirements, certain standards where you have to be going full-time to be able to attend the school.
Right.
So with that, I don't know how long it took within that time frame of me doing all of that. And then once I took all the classes I needed to again, I tried to reapply to Cal State's, and I could not get in.
Why?
Because it became so competitive. It was so full. Like the wait list for trying to get into the colleges were so bad at that time now. So when I was trying to apply, like I couldn't get in. I applied to I think
so if you had everything you need to go back into college and they weren't accepting you, what was the reason for not accepting you?
So I think once you go to college and then you drop out of it and you try to get back into the system, you're at the bottom of the list.
Yeah.
So it's like they save the spots for people who are freshly trying to get into the school.
Yeah.
And people who are trying to transfer from community colleges that never dropped out and are trying to move forward in the next step to get into the college. So me, I'm like last priority because I'm like, hey, well, you were here and then you left and now you have to wait for everyone else to get in before we can let you in.
So where did you go apply and try to get in?
I tried to reapply back at Cal Poly. I tried so hard and I would go there, talk to admissions, talk to everyone, and that's basically what they're saying. Like, oh, you just have to wait. Like the wait list is just so crazy. And then I applied to Cal State LA.
Yeah.
And I remember this so vividly. Like I kept checking the system because usually when you apply, you check all the their school portals, and it lets you know like if you've been accepted or denied, right? So I remember going into the Cal State LA website. And I went onto it, and there was this green triangle saying that I got accepted, right?
Yeah.
And then I refreshed it, or I did something, and then I went back to it, and then it gave me like a red X, and it said that I was declined.
What?
Yeah, like within a few minutes, like of me, like okay, cool, let me explore their website real quick to see and then I went back to it, and I was like, what?
Whoa.
Yeah.
No way you got rejected from Cal State LA.
Yes.
Everybody gets accepted to there.
Yeah, but like I said, they told me that I would be bottom of the list because of my situation.
No way.
Yeah. Yes, so that was hard for me. And then like that just took so much time, and I'm like, what am I doing? Like I'm doing all the right things that I need to do, but just because I dropped out of college temporarily and tried to get back in, like that screwed me over so badly.
Yeah.
And then when I met you, I was going through all of that. Do you remember?
Yep,
like I was still trying to go to school part-time and everything. I was still working. And I just kept trying to get into these schools. I think when all of this was happening, like we just started dating, right?
Yeah.
And it was actually because I met you and because of your mom that I was able to get back into school.
Yeah. And what school is that?
Cal State Fullerton.
Better than Cal State LA.
Yes.
That's a great school.
Yeah. You know what I actually applied to? What was it? San Luis Obispo?
What? What did you say?
Obispo?
San
Obispo?
Luis. No.
San Luis. How do you say it?
Luis Obispo.
Yeah. What did I say?
Louis. There's no E in there.
San Luis Obispo. And I think I got accepted, but I was like, I don't want to go that far. That's so far away. Like I would have to move out there to go. So I was just like, okay, I'm just not gonna go to school anymore. Like that's it. My life is over.
Yeah, I remember when I met you, you were kind of like, I'm just not gonna do it anymore.
Yeah.
And then somehow my mom knew someone at the school, and they put you at the top of the list, and then you got in.
Yeah, and it's crazy because it's like they knew the situation. They knew that like, I mean, all the schools that I applied to, they knew I was trying so hard to get back in, but it was just like, sorry, we can't help you. You know.
Yeah.
So it's like, in order for me to even be able to get back into the school was because your mom knew someone and was able to take me into consideration to be able to go.
So now how's your mentality going back to school? Like, did your whole mentality change, or were you still like...
Yeah, no. Once I got in, because I tried so hard to try to get back into it, like, I was on the brink of like, oh shit, like, I'm not gonna graduate college like the rest of my family. Like I'm not gonna be the one to get a degree. Like I thought that was my goal, like growing up, like I'm gonna get my college degree and that's gonna be my backup for whatever it is, right?
But you were still working.
I was still working, yeah. And,
so how did you manage it all?
I think I was so determined at that point because it just took so long and so many tears. I remember crying so hard because I thought my life was over because I couldn't even get back in like as much as I wanted to. So I busted my ass, like studying for classes, studying for exams. Like, do you remember that's when I became this like hardcore coffee drinker? Like I used to. This is where my coffee addiction started. I didn't really drink coffee before, and I started brewing coffee. And I'm like, I'm gonna just drink it straight black. I don't care. I need to study. I need to stay up. I need to spend hours studying to make sure I pass all of my classes. And I would do that every day, especially I think when you had the liquor store, maybe. Yeah, so you were working and I would just always
No.
be studying.
When we had the liquor store, I think you already graduated.
Oh yeah, true.
Because
Okay.
we just got married.
Yeah, but I think you were working or something. I don't know what it was.
Yeah, I was working at the restaurant.
The restaurant. Okay.
I had a restaurant business.
Yeah, so I would just always be in the room studying, and also because your mom was the one who was able to help me with this. Like I didn't want to let her down, also, and then also for you because I was like, this was a chance of a lifetime for me because I didn't think I was gonna get the opportunity to be able to go back to school. And then yeah, I was just like, I need to get this shit done. I need to get it done like ASAP. And yeah, I graduated. I got my bachelor's degree.
Yeah.
And it took a long time because it took a long time trying to get back in.
So what's your advice for everybody that, who's in the same situation as you, that went through it or is going through it?
Honestly, if I could take it back, and I think my parents would think the same, is to just focus on school because college it's tough, especially when you don't have peers and other people to guide you through college. Like if you're lucky enough to have friends, parents, older siblings that went to college that can guide you towards it, that's amazing. Just like stick with it, right? But a lot of people don't have that.
Yeah.
And I think I went in kind of lost and not having much of a direction. So whatever I was thinking about doing in the spur of the moment, I'm like, well, I can work it, da da da. My parents didn't know. Like they're probably like, yeah, you can do it, sure, why not?
Yeah.
But I think going back and them knowing what I went through, they're just like, like with my little sister, they're like, just go to school and that's it. If you need to, just go dorm at your school. No distractions. Don't work. Like you really don't have to, and just focus on school because it's a tough thing, and especially like for your situation too. Like if you have professors that you don't understand, because a lot of professors have accents. Like I felt like those were classes that I would struggle in too.
Yeah.
And then you do have to worry about paying for school, textbooks and things like that. So it's like just focus on that. Like if you really don't have to work or do anything else, like don't.
Yeah. I mean, not everyone is so lucky to have that, but if you can
Yeah.
avoid it, avoid it. My situation was completely different, right? So I had the apartment. I was living on my own with my friend, and so I had to work, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it was really difficult for me because I probably had at one point I had 3 jobs and school, and while I was going to school, sometimes the jobs wouldn't cut it because they're part times, and then now I got to sell drugs while at school just to pay for rent and food and stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's crazy. Like the things that I went through just to go to school was putting my life in danger, and so for me, I definitely broke the stereotypes. Like so did you. It was so hard for you to do school, right?
Mm-hmm.
As an Asian, and for me it was even harder. So when I first got accepted to Cal Poly Pomona and I had to do those testings and I failed them, they're like, all right, you need to do intro to English, and then intro 1, intro 2. Once you pass those, if you pass those in your first year, then you're okay to continue, right? So same thing with math. You had to pass math 1, math 2, and you had to do that, for the year. If you don't pass it, then you can't continue. So I had to do intro to math, and I could not pass intro to math.
What was intro to math like? Was it algebra?
No, it was like statistics, something
right?
like that. And I took it 4 times in the year, so that means every semester I took the class to try and pass it, and by the 3rd time I couldn't pass it. When I was like midway the 4th, I couldn't do it. So I got kicked out of Cal Poly because I couldn't pass math, most simplest math in college, and I kind of like I can't read books in terms of like learning on your own from a math book. That's just way too hard for me. And so with the teacher's help, I really didn't get any help because there were language barriers, right?
Yeah.
There's like, I had one Chinese guy who barely spoke English as a teacher, you know, and everyone would make fun of his accent. He'd be like, and then this number is like this.
Yeah,
like
I remember that being
you know?
a huge issue at Cal Poly.
And I'm like, what the fuck is he saying right now?
Yeah.
So then all the other students were like, yeah, I'm just, you know, trying to do this at home. I'm not going to listen to him.
Yes.
I go home and I'm like, what is this shit? And now I got to go to work, you know? And then I take it the second time, and now I have this like it's more of like a Persian or Armenian guy, and he's got this heavy accent to where I don't understand any word he's speaking. I'm like, oh fuck, dude, I don't know if I'm gonna pass this.
Yeah.
You know? So by the fourth time I got kicked down, I'm like, oh shit, what do I do? So just like you, I went to community colleges.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, before I went to community college, I went to Cal State LA.
Oh.
I tried to do Cal State LA for a month. I couldn't do it.
So you got into Cal State LA and Cal Poly Pomona.
I went into Cal Poly Pomona, got kicked out, applied to Cal State LA, got in.
Wow, okay.
And then Cal State LA, I had to do those same classes. And then I got another teacher with a crazy accent, and I was like, there's no way.
Yeah.
No way. I'm not even going to try it this whole semester. So I left. And then I went to PCC.
Oh.
To Pasadena City
I forgot
College.
about that school. Yeah.
And I was like, all right, this should be easier. I can do this. Everyone goes to Pasadena City College for 2-3 years and then transfers back to, you know, a 4-year college. Well, once again, another teacher with a crazy ass accent. I was like, oh fuck. After 1 week, I was like, nope.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. So that's when I completely dropped out of college, you know, and I just worked for a couple years. And that's when I was like, you know, I don't understand it. I'm Asian. Why can't I pass math? Intro to math. You know, it's
you know what it
crazy.
is though? I've noticed, like, especially in your situation, I feel like there are a lot of people who are not book smart, but they are street smart. So like a lot of people don't understand things that are being taught in like an academic setting, but when you put it into a real life situation, which is actually really important too, like you can understand it in your own language, if that makes sense.
So that's when I realized, you know what? Yeah, my parents came to me and they're like, what are you doing with your life? You know, like, you're not going to college and you're working at a restaurant. Like, what are you doing here? You know? And they said, you know, go figure out what school you can do and they will take care of it. Right?
Yeah.
And so I started looking up what are things I can do, and I was like, well, my cousin is going to a mechanic school because he's good with fixing cars.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, well, what can I do? So then I thought about culinary school. And so I went to Le Cordon Bleu, which was the biggest scam in the world. Now they're not even there anymore. But basically, it was like 50 grand to go to the school for a year and a half.
Wow.
And I was like, you know what? I'm not good with books, but I'm good with my hands. And I can cook. So let's do culinary school because, you know, I do want to open up a restaurant and stuff like that, right? So even though, you know, my dad was helping me for culinary school, I was like, I'm still living on my own, you know? And so I still wanted to help, right? Or at least pay them back. So when I was going to culinary school, I was also, I had 3 jobs and going to culinary school. Culinary school was like, okay, so here's my schedule, okay? This is what it is. I would go to school at 4 a.m., okay?
That's crazy.
And then I'll be done at like, I think I'll be done at like 2 p.m. And then at 3 p.m., I would have to go serve at a restaurant from 3 to midnight.
Mm-hmm.
And then and then a lot of the schedules weren't even 3 to midnight. A lot of schedules were like 8 p.m. to 4 a.m.
For work?
For work. Because the restaurant closed at 4 a.m. in Old Town, Pasadena. And so when my school starts at 4 a.m., I would have to leave at like 3:45 a.m. to go to school at 4 a.m. until 2 p.m., you know? And that still wasn't enough money. And then I would have to sell drugs at school, sell drugs at work, you know, working in the restaurant, customers, other servers, I would be selling them lots of drugs. And then I'd be at school and selling my classmates lots of drugs. This was just for me to be able to pay for apartments and things like that.
Do your parents know about that?
They don't.
Well, they do now. I'm pretty sure my parents know now too.
So, that's what I had to do to get by,
Yeah.
So it's like, if you are a parent, guys, and you're listening, and your kids are living on their own and they're struggling, and you want them to learn the ropes, sometimes it's putting them in a bad situation to where they're forced to do the things that they don't want to do. So, yeah, that was like my struggles of college.
Yeah.
It was tough. So even though we both had these struggles of college, and we tried to study so hard, and especially in the majors that we declared, do you even think it was worth it?
I mean, I feel like...
Well, college is worth it.
It's still worth it.
Were the majors that you picked worth it?
I've learned that a lot of people go to college, they get their degree, they will start their career in what they studied, and eventually they leave it. And like, you don't really know while you're going to college if it's going to stick or not, because going to college for something versus actually getting the hands-on experience and being in that job is completely different. So, is it worth it? I would say yes, because that was something that you were passionate about at one point in your life that you envisioned yourself doing, right? But then once you're in there and you're in it for however many years, you learn that like, hey, I've kind of outgrown this. This is not what I want to do. Then it kind of just is like a backup plan for you. Yeah. And then it gives you an opportunity to be like, okay, so what can I do next? Like, you have to consider, do I want to take a break in this job, in this career, and try to follow a different passion and see what I want to do. And at the same time, like, it's kind of having to, if that plan doesn't work out, you still have that backup plan of going back to your degree.
Do you regret majoring in HR and graduating with your HR degree?
I don't regret it. Just thinking back about all the stress and everything that I went through for it, like, that was probably one of the most challenging times for me. But I still worked very hard because I knew that it was something that I wanted to do and accomplish for myself.
Interesting.
If I were to have gone into a different part of HR, rather than being like an HR manager, if I got into maybe like maybe marketing or recruiting within HR, then maybe that would have been a different direction that I would have taken, because that probably would have been more of a fit for me rather than like stressing out over trying to manage a department and employees. And
if you had to pick another major that you wish you would have done, what would that be?
Maybe marketing.
Yeah, marketing is a good one.
Yeah.
Especially with the way the times have been, it's definitely shifted towards marketing. There's so many new majors in today's world than there was before. I felt like before it was so limited.
Mm-hmm.
Like now they have these new ones called entrepreneurship majors and stuff like that. And I'm like, damn, where was that?
Yeah, because before it was just like you have one area, right? Like business administration, and then there's all these little subtopics for each of it, but it wasn't like as focused, right? So everyone has to take these prerequisites that you take, and then it's like, okay, well, towards the end of when you're getting closer to graduating, okay, well, here are the classes that will help you in that, but it wasn't as primarily focused, if that makes sense.
I didn't even understand a lot of the majors. When they're trying to tell you to pick, you're like, what's this? What's that? Like, they don't even tell you what is this for.
Yeah.
Like, you want to do some sort of business and open up something, then you major in business. And it's like, but what does this teach me?
That's why it helps to have peers, or like to have like guidance counselors in high school are supposed to help you with all of this. But at the same time, like I feel like with my school, they didn't focus as much on that with the students. So a lot of students blindly go into college not knowing what they want to do, and they're kind of just like winging it.
I wish I went into the one that I really wanted to do, but I went with the safe one for now, just to pass my classes, and so I switched it.
Yeah, what yours have been?
The one I really wanted to do was sports medicine. I really wanted to be a sports trainer and do some sort of medicine with athletes, NBA specifically.
Gotcha.
So my goal was always to be down on the court with LeBron and sitting next to him. And if he broke his foot, I would be on the court with him trying to figure out how to, fix his foot so he can get back on the court.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to do.
That would have been cool.
Yeah. So I think me not being able to pass those introduction classes made me not even think about sports medicine anymore, and I was just like way out of my league with college.
Well, I think that's why they have trade schools too, right? So it's like more focused on
this. But I didn't go into that.
Yeah.
I just went into, I already know I can do a restaurant. I got my dad who's done restaurant businesses, and so I have friends who want to do business with me. So I'm like, all right, let's do this culinary school. Let's be a chef, and then let's go work at all these restaurants in Hollywood and Sunset and learn their recipes and the ins and outs. And now let's open up my own restaurant. So I went through that whole direction. But it's kind of like, I don't know.
There's just so many things that you can tap into. So it's like you want all these different things, but you're like, in that moment in time, you're like, okay, well, I'm going to go towards this because this is what's convenient or this is what's there for me right now, right? So it's a different timing and different opportunity.
Yeah. So I think my advice for everybody here is who's going to college, or you got kids going to college, it would be to really pick the major that you really want. Don't go for the second or third one that you've been thinking about. Go for that first one.
Yeah, and as parents also just being more involved when your kids are in school, especially when it comes to high school, because I feel like my parents, because they didn't go to college, my mom, I don't even know what grade my dad went up to in school, but for my mom, she tried go to adult school maybe for like a year, and then that was it. So they didn't know to be involved. It was more of like, well, you do what you got to do to graduate, and that's it. Like, there's no guidance at all.
We definitely need some sort of guidance.
Yeah.
So like, for example, if I wanted to do sports medicine and I couldn't pass my prerequisite classes at Cal Poly, then I need the guidance for somebody to say, you know what, here's a trade tech that you can do with sports medicine. Go to this school, do that. So
or get a tutor.
We didn't get that. Or I'm not paying for a tutor myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying now for parents right now. Like, be more present, and if you see that your kids are struggling on something, if they need tutoring, I would pay to get that extra tutoring done, right?
Yeah, but I think a lot of our listeners are people who are independent and they can't pay for tutoring themselves, or they are on their own.
Yeah, well, I mean for the people that are like, that have kids now, that have to think about kids going to college in the future.
So I guess for you guys who are independent, dropping out of one college is not the end of it. Don't switch up your passion. Continue with your passion, but you need to research what schools can help with the passion. Even if it's a trade tech, go do it, right? And like nurses, right? Don't nurses go to trade techs? Mm-hmm. And after like a couple years, they're out, right?
Yeah.
So that's what you need to do is just research.
Yeah, and it's like doing extracurricular activities that are things that you're passionate about. So then like, hey, is this what I want to do? Is this what I really think I can do in the future? Like, is this what's going to make me happy and stuff?
After going to 4 colleges and finally graduating from one, I didn't even go to my graduation.
That's so sad.
Because I hate school. I was like, I'm not going to go.
Yeah, but that graduation was for you. That was your own accomplishment for you to celebrate.
Yeah, now I wish I went, but I didn't go because at the time when I was finishing my trade tech, all my friends were finishing their 4-year colleges, like the really crazy schools, right? Irvine, Riverside, UCLA, and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And every week, every year, you're going to all these graduations that are so fucking boring. And I don't want to go to these graduations. So when it was my turn, I was like, you know what? I'm not going. I don't want to sit through that shit again. I don't want to make people go to my graduation. So I just didn't do it. And they just mailed me my diploma.
I think you should always go to your college graduation because you worked so hard, and that's your one day to be able to celebrate yourself. Like, you don't want to regret it like he does.
Well, I also didn't have the family to support me like that either.
Yeah.
To be like, oh, what about your graduation? No one said anything.
Well, maybe because you put it out there that you didn't want to go to it. Because I feel like they would have went for you, especially when your parents wanted to invest for you to go.
My family wouldn't second question anything or second guess anything. They wouldn't even ask. There's really no advice there, right? So it's like, if they know that I'm finishing school, they would say, hey, is there a graduation? There's no questions there. So when there's no questions of those wants, then I already don't think anyone wants to go to my graduation.
Yeah, so I think as parents, we have to be the ones to break the cycle and ask more questions and be more involved.
And the reason why is because kids don't know.
Yeah.
Even if they're like 25 years old.
Yeah, parents always set the tone for things, so.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, man, this conversation that we had and the life experience that we both went through, is that normal in the Asian culture?
No, because what you hear is that most people go to school and they go for 4 years and they graduate and then they start working. Right?
Yeah, that was definitely all 30 of my cousins.
Yeah, and that's how growing up in an Asian household is, because you grow up always being compared to your cousins, your peers,
one thing that
friends of friends, you know.
One thing that I do feel good about though with these school years is that it didn't take me 6 to 8 years to graduate. I'm happy about that. You know how people do the community college for 3 years, and then they go into the 4-year college for 3 to 4 years? They're doing a 6 to 8 year.
I mean, that almost happened to me, right?
Yeah.
And I probably had to take like an extra year to a year and a half of school because of that gap of me not being able to get in. That was just wasting my time.
So I'm happy that it didn't take us that long to graduate.
Yeah. We found a way, no matter how hard it was. We didn't give up, and we found a backup plan, and it worked out.
Coming from someone who has dropped out of 3 colleges and went to a trade tech, it sounds like I hate college and I really don't care for college. Yes, I hate it. I don't care for it. But what I've learned that being an entrepreneur and all the businesses that I've done, a good college would have helped my growth in business exponentially.
Agreed.
Okay? So college is very, very important if you can hack it.
Don't
if you
take
can't,
it for granted.
If you can't, I'm sorry, you're going to have a hard life like me. But, you know, if you can do it, just don't take it for granted.
Yep. 1,000%.
So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of
Love and Rice.
And you know how hard was college as an Asian, because god damn it, it was hard for us.
But always worth it. It was always worth it.
Yeah. I probably could have done without culinary school.
I mean, it got you through some parts of your life, though.
It definitely.
And you can still be in potential businesses for food and restaurants.
Well, we are. We got our matcha business, we got our hot sauce business, and we got some future ones coming up.
Exactly.
But at the same time, I think me going through the school hours and working all these jobs, multiple jobs, is what has allowed me to hustle and be able to multitask in multiple jobs at once.
Yep.
That's what I've learned from that. That's all. But yeah, so if you guys enjoyed this episode, please give us a review and rating on Spotify. Subscribe to us on YouTube. We're also on other podcast platforms: Apple, Amazon, Google, iHeartRadio, TikTok, and Instagram.
Yep.
So if you guys enjoyed this, please go support us, and we'll catch you on the next episode of Love and Rice.